that was really moving, and we have to think about these kinds of reversals. Trayvon Martin was already not free. Trayvon Martin was the one who already existed in a kind of prison. He wasn't free to walk down a public street by himself. There's this sense in the States that in order to hold up our normativity, you can be this hero. You can be a sort of self-appointed vigilante, and as long as what you're doing is fighting the bad guy, if we've identified bad guys, yeah, you can blow away bad guys because that's heroic and it's dramatic, and you can be this like real American hero. Trayvon Martin was always the bad guy because the American imperialist system fed us racism in order to divide the working class, and we bought it. So many of us bought it. So many of us continue to buy it, and it is a hard thing because it's all around us. It almost can't help but seep in by osmosis, and we have to be vigilant against it at all times. Why would you assume that someone walking down the street by themselves is up to no good? Why aren't people interrogating these assumptions and asking, where does this come from and who profits from me feeling this way? In whose interest is it that I'm pursuing this? Why do I need this heroism, and why am I so afraid of this other person? Where does the fear come from? It comes from a social indoctrination to keep the working classes divided. And that's the real, no, that's a secondary tragedy here. I mean, the real tragedy is the loss of an innocent child. I mean, when I was about 6 years old, my dad left the house one afternoon, and one evening. It was dark out, but not really very late. And my mother came in at one point and said, "Where's your dad?" And I said, "I don't know." He wasn't actually given his phone call or any legal representation until the following day. Same thing, walking down a residential street, minding his own business, white man following him. He would walk a few steps, stop, look back. The person who's following him stopped. He tried to speak to him. That person wouldn't speak to him. It's this unwritten crime among a long unwritten list of unwritten crimes that you can only somehow commit if you're a person of color. But walking at night while black and male. And you can get the death penalty for it. So Trayvon Martin was never free. We have so-called stand your ground states. I didn't even know about this until Trayvon Martin was killed, but apparently self-defense doesn't just mean defending yourself against the immediate threat of bodily harm in these states. You can defend yourself against a perceived threat. And we all sort of understand what that means and how that played out in the slaying of Trayvon Martin. Although, to be fair, they didn't use the stand your ground defense. It was a standard self-defense move here. But still, I think that this does embolden people. If you look at stand your ground states and the kinds of justified killings and the racial element to those justified killings, you see a really startling and disgusting trend. But further, I think that there's something here about dramatic violence and kind of quotidian violence. The kind of the sorts of things that I was talking about in terms of the drip effect of being excluded, of kind of being disenfranchised, of seeing older generations of people like you constantly disrespected, humiliated, undermined, abused, harassed. I mean, these are the kinds of daily bits of violence that people of color are supposed to put up with, because they're not bang, bang, punch, punch violence. We're not supposed to think of them as violence. Turning around and saying to somebody, stop following me, that's a moment of trying to put an end to an act of violence. So I think that we need to think in a less kind of institutional way about what we think of as violence, as self-defense. And so when people are put into a position where they're expected to take constant degradation and humiliation, those people are subject to violence. And so, yeah, so we do need to think about how now we defend ourselves against that, kind of daily state-sanctioned social violence.